Guys, it's JLo here and welcome back to my channel. If you're a new subscriber, welcome. Thanks for joining us, and if you're an old subscriber, thank you so much for staying with us. In today's video, we have an exciting topic to discuss, and it's about setting powder. Setting powders are an essential step in any makeup routine as they help to highlight and lock in your foundation and concealer. It minimizes shine and extend longevity of your makeup. So join me as we dive into this world of setting powder and explore everything you need to know to achieve a flawless, long-lasting and clean makeup look. Let's go. So we'll be talking about what a setting powder is. A setting powder is a makeup powder that contains ingredients like talc and silica to keep wet makeup products such as liquid foundation and concealer in place. Setting powder minimizes the appearance of oil on the skin, giving you a smooth look, and it helps makeup last longer. We have different types of setting powder, and they can come as loose or pressed powder. Those setting powders can be translucent or tinted. Now for the translucent setting powder, which is the most popular currently in Nigeria, we will be talking about how they work on different skin tones. The translucent powder is a colorless facial powder that is available as pressed or loose powder and is used to set makeup, most especially the under eye, and it doesn't add color or cover blemishes. It helps to control the shine and give the complexion a matte finish. We use it on top of the concealer on the under eye and other parts of the face. It can also be used for different skin tones, but it's ideal for those with uneven skin tone and light skin tone people. It comes in light, medium, and dark varieties, so it's best to choose the variety that matches the skin's natural complexion. Yeah, so if you're a dark skin, you'd rather go for the dark variety. That's the dark one. If you're medium skin, go for a medium one. Then if you're a light skinned, you go for the light variety they have there. So it's best to choose the variety that matches the skin's natural complexion. Your own skin natural complexion always will work with your skin tone. Please don't just go to the market and just get a setting powder. Just get the one that suits your skin tone. Now we'll be talking about the tinted setting powder, popularly known as the banana powder. Back in 2016-2017, it was the most popular setting powder in the market. Everybody wants to have a banana setting powder. Everybody wants to own one. Then benign was the most popular. It sold out like magic. Unlike the translucent powder, this tinted powder doesn't come in pressed powder. It only comes as a loose powder. This banana setting powder is a loose powder that is extra fine, and it's silky and has a yellow or golden tone that makes the skin tone appealing. Though it is suitable for all skin tones, but it looks best for complexions with yellow, golden or olive undertones. Like, it didn't fit people that were light skinned, especially those that were overly light skinned. Do you get? It was more of the people that are dark that it suits very well. We'll be looking at the differences between these two setting powder, the translucent and the tinted setting powder. For the translucent powder, it's a sheer colorless facial powder, while the banana setting powder is a setting powder that creates the illusion of a flawless skin. The second one, the translucent powder, is colorless, while the banana powder has a yellow or golden tint to it. And the third one, the translucent powder, it's available as both loose and pressed powder, while the banana setting powder is only loose. It only comes as a loose powder. Now, the translucent setting powder is used to set makeup and not add color or cover blemishes, while the tinted setting powder comes with color and it color corrects the complexion, making it look brighter and even. The translucent powder is best for lighter skin, except you use the one that suits your skin tone, just like what I explained earlier, while the banana setting powder is best for yellow, golden or olive skin tone. We will now move on to how you can choose the right setting powder for your skin tone. With the explanation I gave earlier on, it's easier to now know how to differentiate between the two of them, know what suits you. If you're light skin, the light translucent powder is the right shade for you. If you're medium shade, the medium translucent powder is the best for you. But if you're dark skinned, the dark shade, the dark translucent powder, or the tinted setting powder is the best for you. This is how you can avoid flashbacks. If you're dark and you go and use a light setting powder, just like a dark person using ROMCA or ROCMA setting powder, you will look, when you take your pictures, you will see that on your under eye will just be white. Do you get? And this is why you get flashbacks when you take pictures, because you're not using the right setting powder that suits your skin tone. Next up is application. How to apply the setting powder. We'll be using the Revlon setting powder in this one, in the shade 01. You can see it. This is their blot translucent setting powder. Now, how you apply your setting powder is after your concealer, you blend out your under eye properly by telling the client to look up while you blend out the concealer, and then you take your setting powder with a layer. If you look at the video, you see that I'm taking the puff. I use beauty blender to apply my setting powder. Sometimes I use brushes. It depends on the intensity I want to create. If I'm to apply it, you see me take off the excess at the back of my wrist. That stuff I'm doing there is like, I just want a layer of the setting powder under the eye. If I just carry that chunk like that and place there, it's going to give me double of the setting powder. So if I want to capture just one layer of the setting powder, I just dust it off at the back of just reduce the intensity before I apply. That's how I do it. And I'm working on the second eye now, doing the same thing I did at the first one. And now, setting is different from baking. When you're setting the under eye, you just want to reduce the creasiness of the under eye. You just want to mattify, to lock in the concealer you used today. But when you're baking, you're using excess powder. It's not the same with this one. This one, you're only using first one layer of powder. But when you're baking, you're using like you put it in abundance. You put your setting powder in abundance, and what it does is, one, for your eyeshadow drops on it. When you're done, you dust it off without it staining the under eye. Two, it like goes further to lock in the moisture under the eye. Do you get? So that's mostly what setting powder does for under the eye. And this process, please, you have to be careful, because you're dealing with the eye. You have to be extremely careful. If you have fans on, you can reduce the fan, because the particles can enter the client's eye, and some people's eyes are so sensitive that once it blows in, they start tearing. And if your client tears while you have setting powder on, it's a bit of an issue because it's going to leave a patch. But once you're done with your setting and baking, please make sure you dust off your under eye properly before you start applying your eyeliner, so that when the tears come down, when the tears roll down, it's not going to leave any trace. If you dust off your under eye and then the person tears out, all you need to do, just carry hanky or tissue and just dab the tears off, or you just allow it to dry. That's what you do to avoid that cracked teardrop. Yes, that's the trick in it. So just use your tissue and absorb the moisture and it's gone. You get. So that is it, guys. So I'm contouring here. Now let's go back to what we discussed earlier concerning the translucent powders. These are translucent powders from Revlon. The one on your right hand side is the one I used for the model. That's their bloat setting powder. Then the other one, that they are like three, they are translucent powders as well. But now you can see the difference. The one on your right has a white undertone, while the one on your left hand side have colors in them. Now that's what explains when they told you that there is light, there is dark, and then there is medium. Can you now see an explanation to that? So that's it. Now I'm coming back again to apply more setting powders to the under eye. Remember what I said earlier about setting and baking? Now I'm baking. This time around, I'm no longer, if you notice, I'm not tapping at the back of my hands. I'm now applying directly, because now the first one I applied has already taken care of the liquid creamy stuffs I applied, which are the concealers and all that. This one now I'm applying is now to further lock in the moisture, and because I'll be entering the eyeshadows and brows and all that, so I want any fallout to now fall on this setting powders, which is I'm using it to bake the under eye, to lock in more moisture and to trap any other thing that will fall on it. So do you now see the difference between baking and setting? If you look, you'll see that the setting powder is looking more pronounced, like it's looking more plenty than it was before, earlier on. Now, as you can see in the video, I'm going in to set the other highlighted areas, like the bridge of the nose, the forehead, the cupid bow, and the chin. These are the areas you use setting powder to set. And I also use it to set my brows. You can see me doing that in the video. Yeah, I use it to set my brows. So now, basically, setting powder is used to set all the highlighted areas. You can say it that way. It's used to set all the highlighted areas. It helps to brighten them a bit. It helps to lock in the moisture, and it helps to keep them in place to help you get that long duration. Here we'll be applying our pigments. So in order to make the pigment stay on the eyeshadow, we use what we call pigment glue to stick it down, to hold it down. So those pigments, they are very tiny, and while you're applying it, they drop off on the skin. So if your under eye is not having enough setting powder and the pigments drop on it, it sticks on it and it doesn't move, it doesn't go off. So what I do here is I go in with setting powder, extra setting powder, to further bake the under eye, to make sure that I have more than enough powders under there, so that when the pigments drop, they will just fall on the powder. And because there is no wet surface there, it's just going to be on that powdery surface, so it's not going to stick on the skin. It's going to be easy to sweep off. And by the time I'm done applying the pigment, and I will now use my brush and sweep it off, you see that you won't see any pigment on the skin. So that's the secret behind applying pigment after you must have done your foundation and every other thing. Because some people do their eyeshadow, eyebrows before they start applying foundation. So now this is the trick. In order not to let your eyeshadow or your pigment stain your under eye, you use your setting powder. You use it in abundance. So when the eyeshadows fall on it, when the pigments fall on it, they don't stick on that area. They easily go off because there is no creamy base. There is no creamy surface for them to stick on. So that's just it. This is the trick behind applying your eyeshadow or your pigment after you must have done your foundation and every other thing. So here I'll be using my brush, my under eye brush, to sweep off the excess setting powder. This brush, I got it from Nuban Beauty. It's called an under eye brush. So I'm using it to sweep off the excess setting powder under the eye. So you see that there is no leftover of the pigment on the skin, because they are all going off together with the powder as I'm taking it off. So just take it off and all. Then I also go further to use her exact shade of powder to tone it down, because if you look, you'll see that it's too bright. So I always use the person's exact shade of powder to tone it down a bit, so it looks more natural, it looks more like her skin tone and all. So here you see that the client is tearing a bit. Yeah, she's a crybaby. So you use the cotton bud to dry off the tears, and even if the tears drop down, you will use a tissue. Don't just panic about it, because you've already swept off the excess setting powder. But if the powders were here, you would have had issues, because it would draw that line, because the tears would take in the product to sink in. But since the powders are off now, anything dropping on the under eye, it's just going to roll off. The tears is just going to roll off. You even see where her tears even dropped down. I just used tissue to dab it off, just with a light hand though. You don't have to press, no pressure. Just once you take the tissue, you put it on the surface, it just absorbs the liquid immediately. It will leave no mark, it will leave nothing. It will just be as if nothing happened there. So it's just going to give you, how glass, if water rolls on glass, it just rolls off. That's exactly what happens when you take off your setting powder and maybe tears or water rolls down. It's just going to roll off and not stick or give a mark on the skin. So this is it. I'm using the tissue now to just dab. You can see how soft I'm doing it. I just put the tissue and remove my hand. I just place it there and remove my hand. So that's the trick behind having when your client tears and it's not cracking your under eye. That's the secret. So once you're done with your eyeshadow, your pigments, please take off your setting powder immediately before you enter your eyeliner, because most clients tear when it comes to eyeliner. You can go as far as reducing your fan or offing your fan if you're using fan. So just use the tissue and dab. If I had left that setting powder and I entered the eyeliner, I will enter serious trouble, because as the tears are rolling, it's just going to take the setting powder and sink into the skin. Or it will sink into the skin. By the time I'm done, I'll start seeing patches. But here, there is nothing like patches. It's just going to roll off the skin. So that's it, guys. That's the trick we do. So try it and let me know what you think. Try it and give me your feedback on how it helped you, how it changed your makeup game. Yeah. Now, this was what I discussed earlier. I'm going in with the powder of her exact shade of powder, the powder I used for her entire face. Now you can see what I'm doing. I'm using it now to set her under eye. This is also setting, but now I'm trying to uniform the whole thing, make it look together. Yeah. So you can see the difference between that eye I applied and the other one. This one now looks more like her skin, and then the other one has this very sharp and too bright effect. So look at the effect it gave. So this is one of the tricks on how you can reduce flashbacks. So with this, your under eye is still going to be the same thing, just looking highlighted but not looking overly highlighted, or you having your flashbacks when you take your pictures. So this is it. This is what I do. That's how I achieve my no cakey, no flashback under eye. Can't you see? Hey, oh boy, this is beautiful. So I'm using the brush to, with the powder to set all the areas I highlighted, all of them. Not just the under eye, but every other place I highlighted. So it doesn't look different from the entire place. Some people use lighter powder, but for me, I prefer to use the same powder, so it will give me this natural effect, that natural finish. Now we'll be discussing about different setting powders we have in the market. We have the high end and we have the drugstore brands. We call it our Nigerian brands. Yeah. So the foreign ones, which are the high ends, we have the L'Oreal Mercier setting powder, we have the D&G setting powder, we have the Maybelline setting powder, we have the Revlon setting powder, which I currently used in this video. We have the Chanel setting powder, we have the Sacha Buttercup, we have the Huda Beauty setting powder, we have the ROCMA setting powder, and the rest of them. And then when we come to the Nigerian brands, we have the Nuban Beauty. These are brands that are tested and trusted, like they are really very good. I've tried most of them. We have the Nuban Beauty, we have the Blot Beauty setting powder, we have the Mirac setting powder. This currently is the best selling for Nigerian MUAs. Like, it's in the market. Every makeup artist is using it. It's very nice. It's owned by Layefa Beauty, and it's really, really, really nice. Very nice. And her setting powder has different shades, just like what I explained earlier. Her own setting powder has for different skin tones. Yeah, so if you're looking for an affordable one, you can try Miracle Cosmetics. Their own is very nice. So we have Flawless Ivy setting powder. We have so many of them there, so many of them out there. So that's it. Another way you can reduce flashbacks in your makeup is by using setting spray when you're done. Yes, setting spray helps to reduce the intensity of that setting powder that you applied under. Yes, apply a generous amount. There is a dewy setting spray, and then there is a mattifying setting spray. So both of them, you can use it together. So how you use it is you use the dewy setting spray first. That's what gives that dewy and sinks in, like it sets the entire face. Then the mattifying setting spray just locks in the entire moisture and gives you that satin finish. So guys, see our final look. Can you see? Look at that under eye. I think it's bright, but it's not bright. Yes, it's well highlighted, but it's not in your face. So this is it. Isn't it beautiful? So as we wrap up this guide on setting powders, I hope you've gained valuable knowledge and tips to elevate your makeup game. Please always remember that the right setting powder can truly make a difference in your longevity and overall look of your makeup. You can still experiment with different types and techniques to find out what works best for your skin type. So if you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe, like and share for more beauty content. See you next time. Bye.